The last 24 hours have been a pretty massive day for Cardano. Something pretty big has launched, and that is a over-collateralized algorithmic stablecoin DJED, and it's made a lot of headlines, it's made a lot of waves, and today I want to talk exactly what's going on with DJED, how it's processing, how much millions of dollars it's brought into the ecosystem so far in just 24 hours, and the future of DJED. First things first, though, if you want to earn passive ADA on your ADA, you can stake with the Jack stake pool. Now, today we're talking about DJED going live. What is this going to mean for DJED, and what does it mean for Cardano in general? Well, first things first, it's pretty awesome for Cardano's DeFi scene. Although I made 2 videos in the past few weeks about DJED and how I have some concerns about the overall effectiveness of the platform and the direction it's taking, things have changed quite a bit, or my opinions since then. However, I myself won't be directly minting any DJED, as minting DJED on the platform does kind of constitute that you're selling your ADA at the current price of the US dollars. Just saying. That's kind of the idea of it. You are buying a stablecoin that is matching the price of US dollars, and you're paying ADA to mint it. So that's kind of the process. And also, there are some risks for minimum DJED, the version that's released here. I will leave these 2 videos linked down in the description if you want to check out my concerns and the things I've been worried about over the past month about DJED before getting involved into the platform. But nonetheless, the past 24 hours has been quite monumental for Cardano, and a lot of great things have come from the launch so far, assuming things stay stable, as the stablecoin name may suggest. Going over DJED specifically right now, you can see that there is a circulating supply of 1.7 million DJED, which is about $1.7 million. Now, this is great. This is total value locked, essentially. And of this $1.7 million, there is 27 million ADA, or 10 million DJED worth of ADA basically backing DJED. And Shen, the reserve coin, has a circulating supply of 20 million. So essentially 20 million Shen has been minted, and 1.7 million DJED, making the reserve ratio around 591%. Interestingly enough, the reserve ratio went above the max of 800% yesterday to 803% because of an uptick in ADA price, pushing it over the edge. But nonetheless, the reserve ratio is sitting in between basically 5 to 800 upon platform launch, and things are looking pretty decent for the future of DJED right now. Even with my concerns of minimal DJED, we'll see how long DJED sustains this for and keeps healthy. But truthfully, DJED has had a very smooth launch, and there's also the factor, which I didn't really consider as much in my video when I have concerns about DJED, at least for the side of minting things and getting access to DJED, is that DEXs have made it pretty available, and people are supplying it as liquidity on different DEXs, aka the open market. So you don't have to go and mint DJED for a minimum amount of 5,000, which is about 13,000 ADA. Just throwing it out there, the minting DJED on the platform also, it's a minimum of 5,000 DJED, does have a 100 ADA fee here that COTI takes. So just putting that out there, it's an operational cost. You will be required some ADA for transfer, and yeah, minting DJED and minting Shen are more or less for bigger players in the game, and I think most people will be taking their ADA to buy DJED if they buy DJED on the open markets such as MinSwap and Wing Riders. And if we go to these 2 pages, we'll be able to see that there's quite a bit of volume on these DEXs for the stable coins and things alike. You can see here there's also a DJED IUSD pair, so a stable swap on Wing Riders already, with over $1 million in liquidity, and you can see the base price is 1 DJED. Volume in the past 24 hours is 107,000, but given these are both stablecoins, the pool APR is quite low, and this is 0.29%, which is not that much at all. However, it is definitely a more stable yield than if you go elsewhere. Briefly, before we go any further in the video, I want to go over the reserve ratios in a bit more depth, just to cover it in today's video, because it is pretty important if you're involved in the platform. Essentially, how this works is DJED can be minted at any time except for when the reserve token Shen, or the reserve ratio between DJED and Shen, is below 400%. And then if it's above 400%, you can then mint DJED and get that, nice stable coin minted, and you're trading your ADA for it. Keep that in mind. You're essentially selling your ADA when you mint DJED. So just keep that in mind. That is kind of the idea behind it. Or you are shorting ADA. Hopefully the price goes down so you can buy back in at a lower price. That is the process of buying stablecoins are minting stablecoins. It's like you're selling for US dollars. That's the idea behind them. But yes, you are going to have a stable coin, and that will retain its price throughout most price action. At least that's the idea. Now, if you buy Shen, you're kind of hoping the price of ADA goes up, not down. So buying Shen is kind of like a long on ADA, and buying JED is kind of like a short on ADA. However, Shen does have other benefits that reward you for holding it, but there's also other risks that you have to endure when holding it. So keep that in mind, and definitely do your own research on Shen and JED, the risks behind each one. Mostly Shen. Shen is, to me, Shen has more risks, and inherently, because it is a peg token. It is not the stable coin, it is the peg for the stable, and it does have other mechanisms like profit sharing that also could increase or decrease the price of its token, and as well as people minting and burning Shen on the platform. But in order for people to mint Shen, they are going to need the reserve ratio to be below 800%, so anywhere from 799% to 0%. Ideally, we wouldn't go below 400% for a minimum reserve ratio, and we shouldn't because of the way JED is working here, and you can't mint any more JED if the reserve ratio is below 400%, so the reserve ratio would only be able to go up from then because people will only be able to mint Shen. Going to the open market, instead of the circulating supply or the minted supplies of Shen and JED being 1.7 million JED and 20 million Shen, there's quite a bit of activity over here on Wing Riders with the 24-hour volume right here on the right. You can see of Shen being over 500,000, JED being 170,000, IUSD, which is another stablecoin, if you want to compare it to JED. IUSD has been out for a while now. JED has a lot of launch hype. Still, IUSD, which is a synthetic CDP-backed stablecoin, has quite a bit of volume, which is interesting. Thought I'd mention it. And the pair for JED and IUSD has over 100,000 in 24-hour volume just on Wing Riders alone. If we go to MinSwap, we can see the volume for Shen over here is about 1 million ADA in the past since launch, and then JED itself is only around 133,000 ADA. IUSD, which is a stablecoin comparatively to Shen or to JED, is instead of 3.7 thousand ADA over here for JED, and the volume of people buying it here is a lot more for the synthetic stablecoin or the CDP-backed stablecoin IUSD. It seems currently most of the big players or the people who are interested in having JED are going to be minting it directly, and I do suspect that JED, although it had the most hype out of any stablecoin, to me, probably won't be the biggest player in stablecoins, and Cardano's going to have a pretty vast ecosystem of different stablecoins, hence the need for more stable swaps and things alike to allow people to move between all types of stablecoins at their own free will. My favorite part about this is that open markets are amazing. Having a DEX, having open markets that people can trade these coins on, regardless of where they're minted or how they operate, is a really good thing and opens up the ability for people to make their own decisions and trade out of one stablecoin to another if they feel that all of a sudden they don't like how one is operated or the decisions a stablecoin is taking or the path it's taking that they didn't think would happen. Regardless of all of this, what other stablecoin you're going to use, it really doesn't matter as much as what matters to the overall ecosystem is that there's liquidity coming in, there's people paying attention, and there's a lot of engagement and people researching, doing their own research into these things and how they work because of the development of them and the deployment onto mainnet of Cardano, pretty much forcing people to say, hey, maybe I should pay attention. There's actually something out now and it could be pretty big. I could profit from it. I could not profit from it. Or I could just, sit on my hands and do nothing and see what happens and then take action later, which is probably what I'm going to be doing in a lot of the cases for the rollout of stablecoins like this, because they are scary, they do have risks, and they're not risk-free whatsoever. Now, to add to this video, I wanted to go over the fact that a lot of people, when I mentioned that Cardano launched its first algorithmic stablecoin, were saying that JED is not algorithmic, it is over-collateralized. And they are right, but they're also wrong, because JED, although COTI has tried to part it from being an algorithmic stablecoin, and they're classifying it as over-collateralized, it is a over-collateralized algorithmic stablecoin. Okay, so it is different from other previous algorithmic stablecoins, and I get the marketing behind it, but truthfully, JED is an algorithmic stablecoin. It is an over-collateralized one, but it's algorithmic nonetheless. It does have a decentralized nature. It has a lot of collateral. It is very over collateralized, which is good. And yes, it can be redeemed for the collateral. Always, so JED can always be burned essentially to collect ADA. As you can see here, JED is always able to burn at any reserve ratio. But in truth, to say it is not an algorithmic stablecoin is disingenuous, and you are just, you're tricking people. So to be honest, over collateralized, yes, but also algorithmic. So just wanted to cover that. I'm not saying that JED is Luna whatsoever. It is much, much different, but just important to say that JED is an algorithmic stablecoin still. You can also see here at the Cardano Summit earlier last year, or at the end of last year, just a few months back, the CEO of COTI on the main stage said they're thrilled to share JED, Cardano's over collateralized algorithmic stablecoin, and it'll be live on mainnet this January 2023. Just saying that it is over collateralized, it is algorithmic. That is important. You're gonna have to do your own research on these things, but in the end of the day, Cardano has a great addition to the ecosystem in terms of liquidity and in terms of people paying attention. So I have no quarrels with what JED is launching. The platform has launched very successfully and very smoothly compared to other mainnet launches, and I'm happy with what's happened so far. Maybe sometimes I'm a bit too pessimistic on things, and I exercise a little bit too much caution when things in this type of the ecosystem are risky and they need people to take risks in order to grow. So just saying that, just throwing that out there. I do think that risk is needed. People need to take risks, and people are going to have to take risks in order for these things to succeed. And that is an important part as well. Also, one last thing before I end the video, keep in mind that there is a PvP market out there. People are versus other people to make money. And there is some interesting strategies that people are crafting, I'm sure, to make money, especially for things like stable pairs. As you can see here, Zygomeb on Twitter, once JED hits mainnet and people provide liquidity to stable pairs of IUSD/JED, there's a very fun and basically no risk strategy to max squeeze unexpected people in this PvP market. Very excited. So essentially, if there's a way for people to make money in the market, whether it's against a synthetic stablecoin or an algorithmic one, or them paired together, people are going to take that opportunity. And if you're someone who's farming or, holding JED or Shen, you could be affected. So keep in mind that there are counter traders. There are people who are going to try to make money off the markets, whether you're providing liquidity or farming APY in a safe way. There always is loopholes. So just keep that in mind. Do your own research. Be careful. I'm not going to say any more on this. I'm going to leave you questioning what this means, because I myself don't fully understand everything too. And I just wanted to let that be here. Anyways, I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. It's been your friend Jack. Hope you enjoyed JED's launch. If you want updates on the platform, follow me on Twitter, follow JED on Twitter, and I'll be making another video tomorrow. Peace.